So let's dive into a story that kicks off with a really profound loss, but then it immediately turns into this incredible mission to secure a legacy. It's a story where a divine promise is hanging in the balance, and the future literally depends on a plan that's part savvy business and part pure, absolute faith. Okay, let's get into it.
You know, our story doesn't start with some grand battle or a booming voice from the heavens. Nope, it starts right here, in this deeply human, deeply personal moment of grief. Sarah, Abraham's wife, has died at 127 years old, and Abraham, the great patriarch, is just weeping. It's this raw, human sorrow that really sets everything else in motion.
With Sarah gone, Abraham is suddenly facing two huge, urgent problems. First, he needs a permanent, dignified place to bury his wife, to honor her memory. But second, and honestly, even more critically, he has to secure the family's entire future through his son Isaac. And he's an old man. The clock is seriously ticking.
To tackle these problems, Abraham comes up with this brilliant two-part plan. And what's so fascinating is just how differently he approaches each piece of it. One part is a very public, very legal transaction that he handles with meticulous care. The other? It's a deeply private mission, something he entrusts to a servant, and it's based completely on faith.
Abraham's strategy here is just a fantastic study in contrasts. To secure the past, that's Sarah's burial plot, he gets into a very public, very tangible negotiation based on law and commerce. But to secure the future, finding a wife for Isaac, he switches gears completely. It becomes a private oath, putting all his trust in divine guidance. It's this really clear split, right? Commerce for the land, but faith for the lineage. So let's look at the land deal first. Abraham, who actually calls himself a stranger, goes to the local people, the sons of Heth, with just incredible humility. He bows to them, and they are so gracious. They offer him the best of their tombs, and one guy, Ephron the Hittite, even offers him the exact cave he wants for free. But Abraham flat out refuses. He insists on paying the full price, and in doing so, he shows this impeccable integrity. And this price, 400 shekels of silver, is a really critical detail. This wasn't just some token payment. The text is super specific, saying it was current money with the merchant. This made it an undeniable, legally binding purchase, all witnessed by the city leaders at the gate. By insisting on paying, Abraham wasn't just being polite, he was securing a permanent, undisputed piece of land for his descendants. No questions asked. Okay, so with Sarah honorably buried and the land legally secured, Abraham pivots. He turns his full attention to that second, and you could argue much harder mission, finding the right wife for Isaac, the one who will carry on this promised family line. And this part of the plan, it's going to require a completely different set of tools. For this job, Abraham sends his most trusted servant on a long, long journey back to Mesopotamia, his homeland. But the servant doesn't just show up and start wandering around, hoping to get lucky. No, he comes up with a very specific test. It's actually a prayer to God for a clear, unmistakable sign that he's found the right person.
And this is just brilliant because it really shows the servant's faith. He doesn't just ask God for a simple yes or no sign. He asks for a sign of extraordinary, over-the-top kindness. Think about it. He's not just looking for someone who will give a thirsty traveler a drink. He's looking for the woman who will then volunteer to water 10 camels. That is a massive amount of work. This isn't just about finding a wife, it's about finding a woman with a truly generous and compassionate heart.
And get this, the response is immediate. I mean, breathtakingly fast. The text says that before the servant had even finished speaking the prayer in his own head, a young woman named Rebecca shows up at the well. The timing is just unbelievable.
So the servant asks for a drink, and Rebecca not only says yes, but then she says the exact words from his prayer. I will draw water for thy camels also. She perfectly, word for word, fulfills the sign he asked for. The servant is so stunned, he just stands there in silent wonder, watching this unfold, trying to process if the Lord has truly made his journey a success.
Later, when the servant explains the whole story to Rebecca's family, their reaction is just as immediate. They don't debate it, they don't question him. They instantly recognize the hand of God in all of this. They basically say, this is from the Lord. We can't say a thing good or bad. They get it. They understand they're just witnesses to something way beyond their control. So these two stories, the careful land purchase and the faith-filled search for a wife, they're woven together, and they give us this really powerful picture of the God at the center of the narrative. So what do these events actually show us about the nature of God? according to the text itself?
Well, the text makes a huge theological statement right off the bat. When Abraham makes his servant swear that oath, he defines his God not as some local deity, but as the God of heaven and the God of the earth. This establishes a supreme being with universal authority. He's not the God of a hill or a river, he's the God of everything. And that's a foundational idea for all of this.
And these aren't just abstract concepts. The story shows these qualities in action. We see a God who keeps his promises, especially that big one about the land. We see a God who guides. Abraham is totally confident that an angel will lead the way. A God who is kind and merciful, which the servant praises him for. A God who is sovereign over all events. Even Rebekah's family saw that plain as day. And ultimately, a God of blessing, who the text flat out says had blessed Abraham in all things.
Now, what's really interesting here is that this text doesn't give you a list of rules like the Ten Commandments. It doesn't say, do this, don't do that. Instead, the actions of the characters themselves provide a kind of blueprint, a model for how to relate to God and to each other.
This story really offers a powerful model for relationships. The right way to relate to God? Well, it's shown through the servant's complete faith and his moments of worshipful reverence. And the ideal for how we should treat each other? That's modeled by Abraham's impeccable integrity in that business deal, Rebekah's radical kindness at the well, and this deep commitment to preserving family and lineage.
And so, it all comes together. Rebekah agrees to go. She leaves her family, she travels with the servant, and the mission reaches its successful conclusion. Both parts of Abraham's plan have worked perfectly. The past has been honored, and now the future is secure.
And the story ends by bringing us right back to the beginning. Isaac brings Rebekah into his mother Sarah's tent. That one simple act connects this new beginning directly to the loss that started the whole story. He loves Rebekah, and then we're told that Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. The grief that opened our story is finally healed by the fulfillment of this incredible mission of faith.
And this all leaves us with a really powerful question to think about. Abraham made these meticulous, almost business-like plans for the things he could control, but he placed absolute, unwavering faith in a higher power for the things he couldn't. It really makes you wonder, in our own lives, how do we find that balance? How do we balance our own careful planning with a deep trust in the things that are ultimately far beyond our own hands?